Tonight on CTV3 News, amidst a number of challenges, the 2022-2023 crop season comes to an end. While the estimated delivery in production fell short, sugar prices are looking good. A stronger relationship between Belize and Mexico as the Sembrando Vida project is launched. And Belize on the verge of exporting coconut and soybean to Mexico. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Thursday, June 15th, 2023.
Special guest in the audience tonight, legendary record executive, Mr. Clive Davis.
My voice is gone.
What?
You start the show tonight. No talking back. I'm your mother.
There's a boy I know. He's the one I dream of.
What's your name again?
Whitney Elizabeth Houston. Wake up! It's on. It's on. Listen.
He really loves me.
My dream. Sing what I want to sing. Be how I want to be.
I say a prayer with every heartbeat.
Reach as big an audience as I can.
Common criticism of you, your music isn't black enough.
Look, I don't know how to sing black, and I don't know how to sing white either. I know how to sing.
I might have just heard the greatest voice of her generation.
Maybe.
Maybe. It's gotta have a hook.
A hook?
Yeah.
I'll give it a hook.
And now, the hottest match of the evening. Get ready for action! Here they come. Amazing! They're unstoppable, unbeatable. They have them on the ropes. The heat rises to the top. 1, 2, and 3. They're on fire! Chiladas. Fire up the taste of Belize with the new Chiladas crunchy tortilla taco chips in its hot chili flavor. Fiery habanero brings the heat. They're on fire! Chiladas. From Snackers, done right, done here.
I wanted to show them something that wasn't an illusion. Something that was real. Something that they could see and touch.
Humans and dinosaurs can't coexist. We created an ecological disaster.
Ellie Sadler.
Alan Grant.
You didn't come out all this way just to catch up now, did you?
You coming or what?
That's another plane, right?
Not exactly.
Don't move.
evening with your news, also simulcast on BSCFA 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. The northern sugar industry was in a celebratory mood today at the BSI mill in Tower Hill as the 2022-2023 sugarcane crop season came to an official close today. Like many others in the agro-producing sector, the sugar industry faced a slew of challenges this crop season, due mainly to the negative effects of climate change. Despite its challenges, however, the industry came together to mark the official close with the celebration of the second annual Sweet Wrap-Up event, featuring a day filled with prizes and surprises. Our news team was on hand during today's event and filed the following report.
After 171 days of milling, the 2022-2023 crop season came to an official close at midday today. Before the farmers and the millers entered their respective off-season rituals, including prepping cane fields for next season's cultivation and the maintenance work on the Tower Hill factory's equipment, BSI ASR celebrated the sweet wrap-up with its employees as well as farmers, while also taking a look at this year's crop performance. While this crop season had its ups and downs, the major challenge, according to country manager for ASR, Mac McLachlan, was seen in the overall reduction of cane delivered to the mill, which fell to less than 1 million tons this year.
There have been strengths and weaknesses to this crop, but the actual amount of cane is very disappointing. It's going to be less than 1 million tons of cane. Now, you'll recall that in previous years, especially previous to the 2019 drought, it was quite normal for us to receive over 1.2 million tons and sometimes over 1.3. I think the most we milled here was 1.31 million tons. So 1 million really is a drop. And I think we're learning a number of things this year. One of them is when we have a serious drought, like the one we had in 2019, that kills a lot of cane. And cane needs to be replanted. It's not going to grow again if it's dead. Then we had flooding in 2020, 2022, which has a similar impact. So you could say that climate change is having a major impact on this business, but equally, with every challenge, there's an opportunity. In this business, we have around about 70,000 acres of cane land. We need to be more productive on that cane land in order to bring in more cane. On a more positive side, I think the investments we've made in the mill have demonstrated the mill's capability this year. We didn't have any major issues in the mill. In fact, we were having to slow down for a lot of the time to match cane supply coming in. So we could really have been through this crop a couple of weeks ago. But we all have to work together in this business to make it a success for the future. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's time to look at what's happened this crop and to think about the kind of modernization this business needs.
Climate change also played a major role in the drop in cane quality delivered to the mill during this crop season.
The cane quality has not been as good as it was last year. There's been a lower lower amount of sugar in the cane. These are factors of the weather. It's not something somebody can easily control. I mean, the yield of cane, the amount of cane that comes in, generally will be a reflection on how much replanting there is of cane. That's what builds it up. You have to replant cane every 6-7 years in order to rejuvenate it. And I think that the reflection of the fall off in cane supply this year is a wake-up call that we collectively have to do better in the sense of maintaining this crop and improving it as we go on for years. As far as the sugar is concerned, we've been maximising our production of added value sugars, where we get a higher price for those sugars in the market. We've really been focusing on the CARICOM market this year. 4 years ago, we were shipping 2,000 tons into CARICOM. This year, we were aiming at 20,000. So it shows you the kind of improvement, and that's, of course, with preference in pricing, because it's our own market, it's our own back door. So I think, we're continuing, and of course the investments we made in Big Creek are saving everybody money, including the farmers. and we're very, very pleased with those. So, there's good things and there's challenges.
Other factors, including a shortage of cane cutters, are also to blame for the fall in cane delivered to the mill, according to chairman of the Corozal Sugarcane Producers Association.
That's one of the most challenges that we are having this year, no? And it's something very new, right? It is something that we did not expect, right? The heat, as you well said, is one of the major factors, but also there we need to sit down as an industry and to analyze in reality what was that. I can say for my community where I live, where I reside, the tourism industry affected a little because many migrated to the Keys, right? Some of them, due to the change of the wages, instead of doing $200 under the sun, well, they preferred going to the free zone or to other places, no? And also the construction of the roads. I see every now and then some cane cutters that used to do that, now they are there, no? Even as flagmen or something, no? But we need to sit down as an industry and really analyze it, and very quickly before the other start of crop, because weather might not change tomorrow, right? It might take a year or two, maybe. We don't know how climate might change, but it is something that as an industry it's very dangerous, especially now that we are seeing that a lot of cane was left out, not with the proper height, no, with the proper size of cane that the cane cutter wanted to have, but it's still cane, and it's a loss for all of us, no? Association leaders, we really need to analyze this situation and really have a backup plan, right? When I mean backup plan, well, it's trying to get maybe machinery to help, not to take over, but to help, right, in times like these.
Mitigation of these challenges, according to Cane Farmer Relations Manager for BSI-ASR, Olivia Aviles, must be worked on as an industry on a whole.
Out of cane supply has to do with a number of things that are happening in the field. It could be weather, it could be cane cutters. We learned this year it could be low cane supply. So we have to look at the different areas. With cane cutters, we as an industry, we do have to do a deep dive into what it is that we can do better. How can we improve labor conditions? We are looking at hotter weather conditions at the time. You know, the cane cutters don't want to cut in those weather conditions. So we have to look at programs such as shade, hydration, and rest. This is something that is implemented all over the region. We also have to look at the impact of the minimum wage on the cane payment as well, in the cane cutter payment. And we also have to look at those fields that can be done mechanically. With BSI, we do have a program that we've been implementing now over 5 years. And we introduced mechanical harvesting with cane farmers. So we've done it for more than 10 years in our fields, but we introduced that more recently to cane farmers. And so we have about a group of 100 farmers that are in the program. This year we had to provide additional services to around 5,000 tons of cane. We managed to bring in for farmers who were not in the program but called us at the 11th hour relay to help bring in the cane. The issue with mechanical harvesting is that we have to inspect the fields now for next crop. So we have to be able to know what the field looks like, free of stones, stumps, and a relatively flat field. So we do encourage farmers to look at the entire area that they have and select those fields that can go mechanically harvested and leave cane cutters to concentrate on the other fields, right? So there has to be a combination of mechanically harvested fields to cover the gap, the labor gap.
With the fall of cane quality and delivery, the industry also saw a fall in sugar production, which will translate to losses across the board.
We're looking at probably about 104,000, 105,000 tons of sugar. Now, remember, there have been times we produced 150,000 tons of sugar here. So The problem from the mill perspective is this is a fixed asset. It costs a certain amount to run it and to put cane through it. If you don't have the cane volume, then you don't make the sugar, and therefore you don't make any money, and we will be making business losses again this year. So this is a major concern for us, but equally it's a concern for the farmers too, because of course they would like to be getting the benefits of what are extremely decent cane prices at the moment that have been brought about through the investments we've made, but also because the global sugar price right now is very high. So this is not the time to have too little cane, let's put it that way.
But while farmers need to do their part, Chairman of the Curacao Producers Association says government can also assist to ensure viability of the sugar industry amidst the devastating effects of climate change.
Well, each harvest group leader is unique in the way they operate cutting their cane. Yes, we would like to have shade, but we can't have as much trees in the cane field, right? Because the fires and stuff like that. But hydration is very important, and I think that is the area where we as associations, we need to look after. Shading also, but it's a huge investment, and where we have our funds from fair trade, but if we invest only in the shading, we have already done a little study on it, it's very, very costly, right? But there are other ways that maybe the government can also help us, because it's something that if this year is this low, imagine next year if it goes even worse, it's an industry that could be dying due to climate change.
Today's event saw many cane farmers walk away with cash prizes and surprises. Reporting for CTV3 News, Norma Ruiz.
The calendar registers today as June 15, 2023, marking the end of a below-performance crop season since the 1.3 million targeted amount of cane to be delivered to the factory was not met. At past noon today, the last truck entered the BSI compound to deliver the last load of cane for processing. When we made checks earlier today, the mill had received 996,000 tons of sugar cane that is expected to produce 104,000 tons of sugar. The target was to produce 1 million tons of sugar, so the industry was some 4,000 tons short of that target. At the launching of Sembrando Vida, a program which we will tell you about further into the newscast, Minister of Agriculture Jose Mai gave us his perspectives of this year's crop.
It's really clear to everybody that climate change is a factor. The high cost of inputs is a factor. The lack of labor right now is a factor. And so there's a greater reason for us to look at diversification. We have problems in North Riviera. If it's not internal, it is a disease or a hurricane or something. We need to understand that diversification is necessary. And so we have to work towards that. I think citrus is bad. Sugar right now is shrunk by 29%. Bananas is not in a very good position either. But we are working towards coming back, I think next year or two. But we have to put measures in place now. Right? So it's not an easy place to be right now if you're a farmer in sugar or citrus or bananas. It's very challenging. But we are working towards, we are working with the tree industries to see how we can rebound. It's not the first time that we reduce. We had a drought of 2019, 2020, 30% less again. This year, that drought wasn't clearly seen, but we had the hurricane, Lisa, which we thought had not affected sugarcane, but apparently it did. It did. Then we had Fraghopper. We had a lot of rainfall. Unfortunately, it get dry. The soil get dry immediately, 2 weeks after. And so we are looking at the evidence of climate change. Real evidence. We're seeing it, feeling it.
While the closure of the crop season marks a momentous occasion for the sugar industry, this year's season has been marred with a number of setbacks and controversies along the way. As it relates to the relationship between the mill and the largest cane farmers association, The impasse continues as a long-term commercial agreement is yet to be agreed upon by the two. Though intervention by the government, a short-term agreement is currently in place, which is expected to expire in the month of July. At this time, negotiations are still ongoing with the help of a ministerial subcommittee, which was put in place by GOB. With this off-season now in full effect, country manager for ASR, Mac McLachlan, says the hope is that fruitful dialogue can persevere and an agreement reached.
Our position remains exactly the same, and that's that we can look at simplifying things through the commercial agreement, but we're not in a position to be transferring value. We've said that from day one, and it's still the same. In fact, even more so today as we're looking at the kind of industry, particularly business losses we're going to be facing this year. So we hope that there'll be, a common sense approach to this moving forward. It's not in our interest or anybody's interest not to have an agreement. I mean, we need the cane, the farmers want to mill the cane. So I'm a great believer in, that's the bottom line. And beyond that, we'll have to find an accommodation. But we haven't had any discussions really of late because I think there's been a lot of other things going on, which are kind of, I think, deflecting a little bit the real issue of actually having an agreement. Remember, this is private sector business. These are commercial agreements between ourselves and cane growers who want to sell cane to the sugar mill. And the vast majority of which I think we don't really have an issue. But we need to overcome this, particularly to deal with the challenges, the modernisation that we're talking about. If we have a fractured industry, how are we going to fix these problems? It just makes it harder and harder, So we're here to help. We're here to mill cane. We're here to grow the pie so that everybody benefits from it. I think it's evident what ASR and BSI have done in this country. People have rather short memories sometimes. This business was going out of business in 2011. There was no doubt about it. They were having to borrow money from the government, having to borrow money from Tate and Lyle and others. We came in, we recapitalised this business. We've continued to invest in it. All told now $320 million. And we've created a really firm platform for moving forward. So I think we've done everything that was expected of us. What we need, the one thing that's been very elusive is to have a partnership and a partnership of thinking with all industry stakeholders about how we move forward.
Which BSI-ASR is in agreement as it relates to the demands by the BSCFA is the implementation of a commission of inquiry into the industry. They ask, however, that it be done with the main target of modernizing the industry, which continues to be affected by the same old bottlenecks for several years.
We had a conversation with the Cabinet, and we agreed quite clearly that we would be prepared to participate and cooperate with a commission of inquiry that's looking at modernising the industry. Explicitly, this is not about the commercial agreement. So other people are saying it is. That's not the agreement. The agreement is, and this really is necessary as to the earlier part of our conversation, we need to modernise this business, and we need to help the farmers to modernise, to work in larger units, to have maybe more cooperatives, block farming, these types of things that are going to bring more value to the farmers. At the moment, harvesting and delivery costs twice as much in the north of the country as it does in the west. There's a win if we can try and look at things like that. So there's so many things that are in our own hands, I think. A commission of inquiry is essential for looking at how we modernise the industry, maybe getting somebody in who's done this before, who's got a track record, and can, come about with a transformation strategy, essentially in the cane farm, to improve things there. I think we've proven with this mill, especially this year, this is a grade A mill. It's working very well. We had the lowest amount of factory lost time this year on record. Less than 3% of the lost time was to do with factory issues. Most of it was to do either with weather or out of cane situations. So we've done a lot here. We've fixed the logistics, so we've improved those logistic lines. We're fixing the market by ensuring we have access to a profitable market in the CARICOM. So many things we're doing. Real focus needs to be on the cane farm now. And I think, if the government really want to help, that's an area that they can try and encourage.
This off-season will also see the sugar industry before the courts over the newly implemented Belize Sugar Industry Regulations 2023 license to import-export, which was announced by GOB back in May. The hope, according to McLachlan, is to get this regulation out of the way and focus on more pressing issues affecting the industry.
We've lodged an injunction against that legislation because we're not the conveyor. We don't market and sell fair trade sugar, and we don't provide the premiums for it. So we're simply not the conveyor. So what that law was doing was trying to make us do things we can't do. So of course we had to challenge it. What a shame we have to go through all of this. Again, we've put a lot of effort into this country and into this industry in order to put it on a really solid footing. And I think some of the things that are happening there are questionable about whether that's pushing this thing in the right direction. But, you know, the good thing about Belize, there's a court system here, there's a good functioning rule of law, and we don't like to have to go that way, but we will use it to defend this business.
Is there any reality where you guys can become that conveyor?
No, because it's not the way that Tate & Lyle does business. They buy, they sell rather fair trade sugar to many different places in the world, and they like to have a relationship with the associations that they're working with, because they want to be able to tell the story and they want to be able to help those associations. So the current situation is that Tate & Lyle, I know, have been talking to the BSCFA. Fair Trade International has set out some principles that are sensible. Look, what are we talking about? We're talking about truthful communication. We're talking about cooperation with other industry stakeholders and proper record keeping of how much cane there is. That's it. I can't, for the life of me, understand what's wrong with that. So hopefully there'll be an agreement. I'm certainly in agreement with that, with those principles. I know other associations are. So hopefully all of this, will be overcome and we can all work together. That's the point of these things.
Today, as the 2022-2023 sugarcane crop season comes to an official end, the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association, BSCFA, issued a release thanking GOB for its donation of $1 million for the purchase of fertilizer for its 3,320 small cane farmer members. Through this donation, the BSCFA says it has been able to deliver a total of 13,102 sacks of 3 blends of fertilizers to its members from its 18 branches in the Corozal and Orange Walk districts. This fertilizer assistance by the government of Belize, according to the release, quote, comes at a critical moment in the current harvesting season when cane deliveries will barely reach 1 million tons. This fertilizer assistance will enable our members to increase cane production and deliveries for the next crop season. The BSCFA urges and supports the government of Belize to continue undertaking bold initiatives that will protect and uplift the small producer and thus ensure a lasting green and peaceful revolution, end quote. The release adds, and we quote, the BSCFA members proudly salutes the government of Belize for its bold and just responses to the denunciations by BSCFA of the economic and social injustices being suffered by BSCFA and its members at the hands of Belize Sugar Industries Limited, BSI, and Tate & Lyle Sugars, TLS. One such injustice consists of the refusal of TLS to pay fair trade premiums on fair trade sugar sold from fair trade eligible sugar produced by the BSCFA and its members for the 2021-2022 and 2022-2023 sugarcane crops. Yet, TLS has paid fair trade premiums to the other associations in the industry during the same period, end quote. In ending, the BSCFA once more calls on GOB to establish a commission of inquiry that will investigate all aspects of the manufacture, handling, transportation, and exportation of sugar by BSI-ESR. The findings of this commission, according to BSCFA, can serve as the basis for a fair and just commercial agreement between BSCFA and BSI-ESR, and for a modernization of the Sugar Industry Act that will regulate the sugar industry in a fair and just manner for the benefit of all stakeholders. Keeping in line with agriculture, the minister today confirmed more good news for farmers. It is no secret that Belize produces soybean so much that there is always a surplus. Well, today the minister told the press soybean can now be exported to neighboring Mexico at a comfortable price.
We are now self-sufficient in soybean. We have a surplus of soybean, and we have room to expand in soybean. Initially, Dr. Villalobos, the Secretary of Agriculture, has said that he wants Mexicans to partner with Belizeans to produce soybean and to export to Mexico. You'll recall that there was, at the time, tariff waiver for products. Well, yesterday they confirmed to us that the tariff is removed from soybean, so we can export soybean to them.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security and Enterprise will be following up with the Mexicans and should deliver a response of the requisites by next month in order for the exportation of soybean to begin. Coming up next, 2,000 farmers from across Belize benefit from the Sembrando Vida program. Stay tuned.
El siguiente es un mensaje del Sugar Industry Control Board. Estimados socios de la industria cañera, en una reunión realizada hoy, 12 de junio del 2023, entre los socios de la industria cañera y el SICB, se decidió que el cierre de la zafra 2023 sería el día jueves 15 de junio del 2023 a las 12 del día. El SICB le pide a todo grupo de cosecha que hagan el último esfuerzo para cosechar y entregar toda la caña posible. Queremos agradecer a Dios por darnos la oportunidad de lograr una zafra más y pedirle que nos ilumine, fortalezca y continúe bendiciendo con salud y sabiduría para prepararnos mejor para la próxima zafra. A todos los que hicieron posible esta zafra, gracias, porque sin ustedes, cortadores, choferes, familias, jefes de grupo, líderes cañeros y todo empleado de BSI, asociaciones y SICB, un agradecimiento muy especial por todo el esfuerzo realizado. Un agradecimiento especial al gobierno de Belice por los apoyos a la industria, especialmente por el gran apoyo a través del subsidio en el diésel. Dado los retos humanos y de la variabilidad climática, actuar de buena fe y honestidad entre todos los socios, así como la importancia de hacer el mantenimiento de las plantaciones para asegurar una mejor producción para la próxima zafra, la fertilización, control de malezas, la mosca pinta y el gusano barrenador son necesarias para asegurar la producción y un mejor nivel de vida para todos. Esperamos que para la zafra 2023-2024 podamos trabajar en hermandad para lograr una mejor zafra. Gracias a todos por hacer realidad esta zafra. Esto es un mensaje del Sugar Industry Control Board, SICB.
If you're lucky, no matter what life hands you, you can always count on your closest friends to be there. Oh, thank you. My purse was exhausted. We are all blissfully unaware when our lives are about to change.
Life is full of surprises.
I'm ready to lose my virginity.
Excuse me?
I got the list.
What list?
There's a whole brouhaha at school about this MILF list.
For real?
Our lunchtime fodder is not usually this lowbrow, I swear.
Really? Who have you been eating with?
It's a big step up for Che and me.
I've been having exit out of grief sex. It's just sex.
The world has changed since you've been out there. Men have feelings too.
Life's too short not to try something new. And just like that, I realized some things are better left in the past. But maybe not everything.
I'm most pleased to report that to the nation that we have been able to secure roughly $90 million for the construction of a new 150-bed modern national referral tertiary care hospital in Belize. Given the vulnerability of KHMH to hurricanes and floods, the strategic placement of this hospital in Babapan represents an important part of our climate resiliency building strategy in the provision of health care.
John Briceño announced that Sembrando Vida project would benefit 2,000 farmers across Belize. Today, there was a huge crowd attending the official launching of the project with representatives from the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security and Enterprise, the Special Envoy, and representatives from Mexico, including Dr. Laura Elena Carrillo Cubillas of Amexid. Our team was present to capture the best moments. Here is that report.
Sembrando Vida has been a process in the making, and today Mexico and Belize officially launched the project from the grounds of the Yoke Creek Agriculture Station. It is fixed to financially and technically assist 2,000 farmers from all 6 districts in Belize. Through the program, the beneficiaries will be able to sell any surplus of their produce and become self-sustainable. President Manuel López Obrador made a promise exactly 1 year ago, and today that vow came to fruition. Today, the farmers receive the Heritage Bank ATM card to access funds to buy agricultural supplies to support their own activities in their plot.
I can say that our pilot program was back home, and we've been working on it for 4 years now. And President López Obrador wanted to share what we have learned in this program with other countries, such as Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. But last year, he visited himself. And so Prime Minister Johnny Briceño told him, you know what, we should have Sembrando Vida here in Belize. And so the president told us here at Amexid to just go ahead and do it. We have 2,000 beneficiaries by now. And it's so important because what we're trying to do is not only, get together for a nice ceremony and then not see each other again forever. No, we do want to be here. And you're going to be able to see that our team is going to be working close to the parcels, close to the people. We want to share what we know, and we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to develop in their own country, in their own land, and that we can work together and be stronger. We need to be stronger as a region. We can do so much if we get together. And that's what Presidente López Obrador and the Mexican people are keen on doing here. We just need to make some quick little changes because maybe the parcels have different sizes and maybe the law makes us, make a little change. But in the basics, it's the same. We want to enrich the soil. We want to make it more productive. We want to have crops that we can sell in the market. And we want to give you, or our beneficiaries, a little something, a little cash, so they can get by, have quality of life, and then they can focus on making their parcels more productive.
There are a lot of bio-inputs that will be given to the farmers. I say bio-inputs because the Sembrando Vida focuses on environmentally friendly practices, moving away from chemical fertilizers and heavy, strong agrochemicals now, and moving over to bio-inputs is the focus of this program. And so we are seeing that today. Totally, the project is about $3 million US, $6 million Belize, which will be given in cash and part inputs to the farmers. So I think it's going to take us a long way. And it's really focusing on what we are now really concerned about, which is environmental friendly practices. It seeks to conserve the environment, it seeks to reclaim agricultural lands, doing the practices. And so I think it is something that is a good place to start. And certainly the ministry will capitalize on it, definitely.
Farmers benefiting from the project had to be registered. After receiving and evaluating each farmer, 2,000 were lucky enough to meet the criteria.
These farmers are chosen first. They look at broadly our registry, our farmers registry, Belize farmers registry. They look at that and they select out of there. This is done by the Mexican government, the Sembrando Vida team. They select out of that and then they do interviews. After doing interviews, they also do farm visits to ensure that a farmer is a farmer, what he says he is. Because in the past, we've seen, before we came to government, where people were benefiting were benefiting from resources saying that they are farmers, and they were never farmers. We had to correct that. It is unfair to give somebody that belongs to a farmer. And so they did their due diligence, and that is how we selected the farmers. But if you look at it, it's a good mix of youth, women, young men, and all, right? So I think it's a very good mix.
The project is being financed by the Mexican government through the Mexican International Cooperation Agency for Development, better known as AMEXID, at a price tag of $6 million Belize dollars.
Today what we saw was the first farmers getting their debit card, for which the project will deposit in their account the monies that they will get monthly. But beside that, there are a lot of bio-inputs that will be given to the farmers.
Small farmers, usually unseen, will now have a clear concept of what it takes to become self-sufficient and self-sustainable, and essentially contribute to a healthier economy for Belize. For Special Envoy Rosanna Briceño, the project is extremely important as it involves everyone, regardless of gender.
Food security is a big thing right now in throughout the world, actually. And we have to ensure that our Belizean farmers have, when they produce, the excess, it's not thrown away. As we've heard horror stories that we've seen, and we've heard that they have to throw away onions, they have to throw away carrots and things like that. So I think with this program, with the excess, they will have an opportunity to export. That's what I gathered from this program. And it's in several other Central American countries. And I think Mexico is one of our closest neighbors. They know what we're going through, and they have opened up the market for our farmers. And with the incentive and the little stipend that they're getting, it will definitely go a long way. So I'm excited for the farmers. I saw a lot of women farmers, and that's a good thing, because we have to extend. It's not just stereotypical roles, Women can get into farming too.
Day ended with the planting of a mahogany tree on site. Elmer Cornejo, CTV3 News.
Sembrando Vida has also been implemented in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador with much success. Definitive agreement is a topic that has been on this newscast and many others for weeks now. The controversial document has given much to talk about, and it is even seeing possible lawsuits. Both former Prime Minister Right Honorable Dean Barrow and former Attorney General Michael Perfeet, in separate interviews, have insisted that Erwin Contreras, former Minister of Investment, had no authority to sign the definitive agreement for Portico Enterprise Limited's Port of Magical Belize. This action by Contreras has been deemed illegal, and it is noteworthy that the agreement was signed just 5 days before Parliament was dissolved on October 6, 2020, a month before the 2020 general elections, as the UDP was already facing internal issues. Section 33.1 of the agreement prohibited any public announcement without prior approval from the involved parties. While the UDP officials claimed they had no knowledge of the document, the current government is looking at means and ways on how to revise the document or even deem it illegal. While most members of the House of Representatives have made a public opinion on the DA, today we pressed the Minister of Agriculture to give his opinion on the document.
I will not speak on that at this time. I cannot speak on that at this time.
Your personal view?
No, I'm shocked, okay, but I will not say more than that. In Cabinet, we need to discuss this in greater length. I do not want to say anything that will affect us or can affect or give the wrong perception of things. I want to be very clear of that. And when the time is right, I will give you an interview on that, my personal views. But at this time, I'll hold it close to my chest.
As is, Erwin Contreras has been notified that a legal proceeding may be coming his way on behalf of Port of Belize Limited. There has been talks about the possibility of Belize being able to export coconut. In 2021, the first country to pave the way for coconut exportation was the USA after the Department of Agriculture gave the go-ahead. But Belize is also on the list of countries that wants to export coconut primarily to Mexico. While the neighboring country had a strict rule of no importation of coconut to the Republic, that has changed, and tonight there is good news for Belizean coconut farmers.
Mexico. We just got back from Mexico yesterday. My technical team and I, including Baja, the technical group of Baja. Why? Because we had already requested from Mexico that we had interest in supplying coconut to their markets. We have companies in Mexico that wants to buy coconuts, green coconut, in different forms. It could be green whole or green peeled, right? Or dry coconuts. Mexico's policy, right, was no to coconuts at all. The bureaucracy in all countries, including Belize, is sometimes very, very frustrating. We're not moving forward as fast as we wanted to. I proposed to the Prime Minister that the only way I will do this is to go face to face and deal with people. And Secretary of Agriculture, Villalobos, who is a friend of mine, and even the President had said to me when he visited Belize, he said, if you have any problems, come see me. I'll deal with it. These Zoom meetings and telephone calls sometimes is not as effective as we wanted to. So I armed my team and we went to Mexico. We were well received by the Senacica people. Senacica is the equivalent to Baja, Mexico. And we showed them where our problems were and why we couldn't get certain responses. And just before we left, we got a correspondence saying that coconuts are allowed now, right? But it has to be remove the green part of it. Why? Because they don't want the coconuts to be used as planting material, right? So if you remove that, then you can't use it for planting material. But we are also looking at dry coconuts. Dry coconuts, again, if you take a dry coconut, there are regulations to that, and I don't want that either. But they left the door open for us to establish new protocols for that.
The minister could not give a definitive date for the exportation of coconut to commence. And in the last bit of news today, Prime Minister John Briceño welcomed to Belize Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Taiwan, Alexander Yu. A friend and ally in global politics and development, Belize and Taiwan have shared many aspirations and goals. Honorable Yu and I discussed our continued partnership areas for collaboration and renewed our pledge of mutual support, the Prime Minister said. Prime Minister Briceño and Vice Minister Yu were joined by Taiwan's ambassador to Belize, Lily Lee Wensu. This year marks the 34th year of diplomatic relations and friendship between Belize and Taiwan. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Friday, June 16th here on CTV3 and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at CTV3NewsBZ. Remember to wash your hands and remain safe. From all of us here at CTV3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.